Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. Let's talk boxing. We're going to deal with a very emotive and sensitive topic in this particular video. We're going to discuss mental health as we analyze the psychology of Tyson Fury as he moves into a fight against Alexander Usyk, because this could help determine the outcome of the fight. However, if you're viewing this video and you have certain mental health challenges or issues, or crises, please do not feel as though you're alone in this world. There are professionals you can reach out to. I'm going to leave some links in the description box of this video down below. Do not feel as though there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is always light at the end of the tunnel, and the best days of your life are ahead of you. Now, with that in mind, let's discuss Tyson Fury. A couple of years ago, I did a video on Alexander Usyk and his psyche, and I was asking whether this man has the consummate psychological state for a fighter. And it was a very popular video. In the 2 years that it's been up, it's had over 18,000 views. And for me, I had to rate Alexander Usyk's mental strength above Tyson Fury's, because when Fury is high, when he's riding on that crest of a wave, there's the most incredible self-belief there. He feels as though he could take on King Kong. But we've also seen him go to the depths of an abyss. There's this darkness that can envelop him when he's feeling low. And he's spoken about this. A self-destructive attitude. He abused his body, wanting to harm himself and things like that. Whereas with Alexander Usyk, there's much more of a plateaued and stable journey. He doesn't get too high with praise and he doesn't get too low with criticism. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there, a lot of cynics out there who have accused Tyson Fury of being somewhat dishonest about his psychological state. There are people that say he uses this as some sort of grifting approach. But the fact of the matter is, way before Tyson Fury's comeback, it was known in the boxing world that he was suffering with depressive episodes. It had been spoken about for years that Tyson Fury was suffering with bipolar. Now, for those of you that might not be aware, bipolar is a condition where you have extreme highs and extreme lows. When you are high, you believe you are practically invincible, potentially. You take a lot of risks in life because you feel as though you can't be touched. You have this delusion of grandeur. Whereas when you're low, you hit rock bottom. You feel as though you're in an abyss of darkness and you cannot get out of it. And many people that have bipolar do harm themselves. And I repeat, if you have any sort of issue, please reach out, because there are things that can be done to get you out of that dark state. What I want to do in this video is talk about what can cause a transition from being high to being low. What can trigger that instability? And are we potentially seeing something here which doesn't look good for Tyson Fury as he heads into a fight with Alexander Usyk? Following that unexpectedly difficult fight against Francis Ngannou, we saw that Tyson Fury did not attend the post-fight press conference. Now, it's very possible that Tyson Fury was willing to give a post-fight interview. I'm talking about in the press conference after the fight. But his handlers, his promoter, his trainer, his manager said to him, Tyson, you took some big shots in there. We feel as though you're a little bit concussed. We don't want you in front of the cameras. That's possible. But although he was dropped and he had a bit of a difficult 8th round, it wasn't that sort of fight. Fury didn't get battered in there. It wasn't the sort of fight where he's been knocked out like Bellew was against Usyk, say, and then when Bellew got up to speak to the camera, you could see there was some confusion there. That's not what happened. So is it possible that he was just feeling so low in that moment that he didn't want to be in front of the camera? Well, let's talk about some specific triggers that can potentially cause Tyson Fury to go to a place which is not conducive with becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion if he wants to get the better of Alexander Usyk. There's a professor at Stanford University called Robert Sapolsky, and in his early 20s, Sapolsky went to live in Kenya. He wanted to go and live with a troop of baboons because he wanted to watch them in their natural habitat. He wanted to know what causes baboons to enter a state of stress. And he would use a tranquilizer dart to put them to sleep after specific stressful moments. And he would take blood from them and analyze the level of cortisol that was in their body. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It's the hormone that your body releases when you're stressed. This applies to human beings as well and all mammals. He discovered that baboons, who tend to live in a very set, strict hierarchy, knew their place when it came to that hierarchy. So in other words, let's say a troop of baboons includes 40 baboons. If you are top of the heap, king of the hill, every other baboon knows that. You're the main man in that troop. You get to pick who you mate with, which females you mate with. You get to have the first pick of the food that you guys are going to find on a tree. You get to decide where you're going to sleep on that tree. You decide. If you're 15th in that troop of 40, everybody below 15 knows you're above them. And everybody above 15, so 14 to first, they know they're above you. And what Sapolsky discovered is that what caused stress for baboons was found in two specific circumstances more than any others. Number one, it was when a baboon's position in the hierarchical order was threatened. So if you're number 7 and number 8 and number 9 are looking at you and thinking, this dude's weakening, man, we can take his place, we can challenge him, that will cause you, as the 7th baboon in the hierarchy, to become much more stressed. The second situation which could lead to that is if you hit rock bottom. If you're bottom of the hierarchy, you feel valueless. You feel like you failed, to the point whereby you display submissive gestures. If another baboon challenges you, you might just bow your head before him. Just lie down and say, I'm done. I'm beaten. You are superior to me. Please just leave me alone. I've accepted my inferiority to you. And those two situations release the most amount of cortisol. Now, other studies building on Sapolsky's work found that this can actually be applicable to the human experience as well. And remember, we're talking about perception here, not even necessarily reality. Imagine you've got somebody who is a working class guy who's barely making ends meet, but he's very, very happy. He pays his bills. He doesn't have much disposable income, but he's got a great group of friends around him. It's not like his family's going hungry. Yeah, there's the stress of having to pay the bills, but you're going to find a way to do it. And you're happy with where you are. All of a sudden, you have this business idea and you embark on this business venture and it's a roaring success. And you don't just experience social mobility where you become middle class. You've gone beyond that. You've become a millionaire. You are at the higher ends of middle class, or the lower end of upper class. You've really made it in life. But all of a sudden, an economic crisis hits and your business is about to go under. And because of that, you're not going to be able to maintain the lavish lifestyle that you've built. You're going to have to sell that mansion that you're paying the mortgage payments on. But you're still not going to go back to where you were before, where you were struggling but happy. Instead, you're just going to become the average middle class sort of earner, whereby, you've got some nice disposable income at the end of the month and stuff like that. You're in a better position than when you started out. And yet you're feeling so much more stress at the possibility of losing your existing position compared to the stress you felt when you were lower class but able to make ends meet. So that perception of losing your social status is what is causing stress. Now, for those of you out there that are thinking, yeah, but Chris, there are people in the middle, in the lower class bracket who are sitting there using food banks. That's more in line with the other baboon, the second example of someone who feels like they've hit rock bottom, who feels like there's no outlet for their difficulties, right? That's more in line with that. Now remember, guys, there's always a way to overcome obstacles. You need to break them down, come up with a plan, tackle them piece by piece. Don't just look at that mountaintop and think, oh my God, I can't get up there. Look 200 meters up the mountaintop. Get to that 200 meter plateau. Then from there, we go to the next 1,000 meters and so on and so forth. And eventually you're going to climb that mountain, right? But the point is, when you're rock bottom and you feel you've hit the worst position you can hit, or when your status is currently under threat, that's when you feel the most stressed. Now, Tyson Fury had established himself as the #1 heavyweight in the world in the eyes of most people. He wasn't undisputed, so he's not the #1 beyond dispute, but he was ahead in the race for undisputed, shall we say, in the vast majority of people's eyes. He felt as though he was king of the hill, top of the heap, as Frank Sinatra would say. Well, when it came to his position after the Francis Ngannou fight, many people have now started to question, should he retire? Did he even beat Francis Ngannou? How is he going to beat Alexander Usyk? He's no longer the favorite. Would he even beat the other top 10 heavyweights out there? Is he done? Have we seen the end of Tyson Fury as we knew him? In other words, his status is currently under threat. He's not hit rock bottom, but his status is under threat. Now, how could this affect somebody like Tyson Fury? Well, in the past, when he had a really difficult moment in his life, he surrounded himself with personalities that are able to lift you. Ben Davison, a smiley guy, a lot of confidence. There's a sense of not arrogance in a bad way, but there's a sense of cheeky confidence to Ben Davison. He thinks he's the best trainer in the world, I guarantee you. Then you've got Billy Joe Saunders. Now, Billy Joe Saunders might rub people up the wrong way because sometimes he goes beyond the pale. But let's be honest, when he's on form and he's not going too far, he's hilarious. He's a very funny guy. He brings an energy into the room. You see him walk into an interview and all the fighters that are currently being interviewed, let's say Coogan's interviewing someone already and Billy Joe walks in. Coogan, the people in the surrounding areas, the other fighter, they're already laughing before he even opens his mouth. He's that sort of character who's going to lift you up. And he's the one that got behind Tyson Fury, and they were forcing him to get out there, to run, to jog, and they made him believe in himself. You can come back, you can overthrow Deontay Wilder. Nobody can beat you, Tyson. Well, isn't it funny how after Billy Joe Saunders did not seem to be too directly involved in Tyson Fury's life since his own defeat at the hands of Canelo Alvarez, he's given an interview this week to TalkSport, and he says, from round one, I knew he was going to have a tough night. I know Tyson inside out. If Tyson was a fraction of himself, Ngannou wouldn't land a glove on him. Because nobody can touch him when he's at his best. You've already seen Billy Joe Saunders start to place the seeds in there to raise the confidence of Tyson Fury. To me, that suggests that even Billy Joe, from afar, we don't know how close they are right now, or how involved he is in his life at the moment, from afar, he's seen the potential sproutings of a crisis. And he's trying to help his friend tackle that. He's trying to put seeds of belief in there. And this is why I did a little poll after the Ngannou fight to ask who should be the trainer of Tyson Fury going into that Alexander Usyk fight. And I listed Ben Davison there. I listed Peter Fury there. Maybe he should stay with Sugar Hill. I'm not suggesting he should leave. But I'm saying I noticed from the outside looking in, this is a guy that did not go to the post-fight presser. This is a guy that when he was speaking, you could see that arrogance, that level of extreme confidence seemed to have been subdued. And are we seeing the pangs of a potential problem here with Fury, where he's going to need to surround himself with people who are going to get him up again psychologically? This is a guy who has spoken about the need to train to stay mentally okay. He's a man who, in my opinion, is addicted to the adulation. Let's not forget, Tyson Fury in the distant past was seriously mistreated by public opinion and the media, in my opinion. When he beat Vladimir Klitschko, he did something that nobody believed he could achieve. Well, when he won that fight, he still didn't get the credit he deserved. There was one publication who said it was like watching a lummox fall over another lummox, and they couldn't wait for Anthony Joshua to come to the fore and clean out the heavyweight division and give much needed life in the way that Lennox Lewis had injected life into it, because there's no way that Tyson Fury was a good enough fighter to carry the heavyweight belt. And when they went into the press conference after the fight, you had John Fury demand that the journalists stand up and applaud his son because they'd had enough of the way he was treated. And regardless of what you think of Tyson Fury and his comments in general, there was definitely an agenda to try and make him look like he was something he wasn't. I remember when he was asked about the Sports Personality of the Year award and he was asked about Jessica Ennis. This was a young guy. I can't remember how old he was, 23 or whatever he was, 24. And he said, Jessica Ennis, she's a great sportswoman and she looks fit in a dress. Now you talk about a young man making a joke about a woman that looks attractive. And I give massive props to Jessica Ennis because the press and everybody seeking to exert cancel culture started to accuse him of being a misogynist. And Jessica Ennis came out and she said, look, I just hope I look really nice on the night. And, you know, she was basically downplaying it. What's the big deal here? And you have to understand that Jessica Ennis did modeling. So what is a model? A model is somebody that is using their appearance as an asset. A model wants you to analyze their appearance. That's what they're there for. That's what they're doing it for. They want you to analyze their appearance and be impressed. So when Tyson Fury is impressed, what's the big deal here? But they were trying to portray him in a certain light. Now, we won't go into some of the way other things he said were also spun, in my opinion. But the point is, he felt as though the adulation that he saw could never be achieved. And this is why I believe he was always on Anthony Joshua's case. Because he felt, I'm the one that's achieved more than AJ at a certain point. And AJ's the one who's getting the adulation. Now, in fairness to Anthony Joshua, he went and got an Olympic gold medal. They didn't just hand it out to him. So yeah, they rolled out the red carpet for AJ, but he earned that, right? But in the pro game, Fury felt, I'm ahead of this guy. They keep trying to chop me down and they keep trying to put him on a pedestal. And that's what starts to cause the rivalry. The point I'm making here, Make no mistake, Tyson Fury is not one of those guys that thinks I couldn't care less what other people think. His history shows us that he is desperate to be loved. And now that he's being questioned, this could go in one of two ways. He could either, like those baboons that Sapolsky observed, start to hit a mental crisis, a lack of self-belief. He could start to look at himself and say, am I really the guy I thought I was? Or am I still that guy? Have I declined? Am I going to go in there against a supreme master boxer in Alexander Usyk without the capabilities of beating him? Because I thought I was going to play with Ngannou. Or is it a kick up the backside he needs, where he says, you know what? This was a sign from God, as Shane says, his brother, Shane Fury, and now I've got to train seriously. Because he was in terrible condition a few weeks out, and he crashed in terms of his diet. He lost a lot of weight. Well, that's not ideal preparation. It can also affect punch resistance. So, where is Tyson Fury right now? Is this a man who you think is going to rise above those obstacles, rise above his own bipolar disorder in order to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world and write a legacy that many people never thought he was capable of and force people to give him the respect that he deserves? Or are we going to see him spiral? Are we going to see a lack of confidence? What does Tyson Fury need to do from this point forth? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.